Let's focus on the Kenyan retailer Uchumi supermarket. It's rolled out a plan to get itself back into profitability. It's announced quite a few losses for the year ending June 2015 to the tune of over 3 billion shillings. Now, the plans have already been effected in part. They include closing loss-making outlets. So far, the subsidiaries in Tanzania and Uganda have been shut down. Other measures include getting refunds from landlords after expansion plans are suspended by the supermarket board. Let's get more details on exactly what's going on in Uchumi. Julius Kipngetich is the CEO of that retail chain, is live with me in studio right now. Thank you for your time this evening, sir. Given how increasingly crowded the retail sector in Kenya today is, what's Uchumi's unique value proposition? What makes you different from Nakumatt, Tuskys or Kwala?
Okay, thank you, Rama. The history of Uchumi dates back to 40 years ago, and it has always been a premier Kenyan supermarket chain. Our uniqueness is because we want to serve Kenyan products. So we want to minimize any imported products and focus a lot on giving Kenyan suppliers, Kenyan producers a platform where they can sell their goods, not only in Nairobi, but around the country. I know we have closed our operation in the region, but we plan to re-enter those regions with better governance structures. So our unique proposition is to sell Kenya.
Indeed. How are your company's relations with suppliers at the moment? Over the last 2 years, 3 years have been pretty rocky. I mean, how big a backlog of arrears do you have due to them, and what's the plan to clear those out?
Our relationship with suppliers has not been good, and we acknowledge that because the previous management did not serve them well. We now have arrears of close to $17 million. And we plan to liquidate some of the assets. There are 3 assets that we have earmarked to sell. Our store on Gong Road, we are going to do a sell and lease back. Similarly to our store in Langata Road, that we do the same. We also have a 20-acre piece of land, and we plan to sell that one. So that should raise around $40 million, and that is sufficient capital to inject in the business. It's just a matter of time.
I have to ask you, Mr. Kipngetich, the property you referred to in Langata, there's a dispute between the retail chain and the Kenya Airports Authority about who should be able to sell it and why. What's the latest in sorting that out?
It was a mistake. I believe it was mischievous. We have the proper ownership document for Langata, and it has also been confirmed by the National Land Commission. And also, we have even a letter from a previous CEO of Kenya Airports Authority confirming the ownership.
All right, so that's not a material risk moving forward.
That's not a material risk.
Right, let's talk about Uganda and Tanzania. You said about $15 million aside to cover the cost of shutting down those subsidiaries.
Yes.
Which other stores will be shut down in Kenya? How many jobs are we losing in the process?
We are not going to shut any further stores. We have shut 2 stores in Kenya, which were obviously in the wrong locations, and we plan to actually put them in the right locations in Kenya. Our shutting of our stores in Uganda and Tanzania, where we put them under receivership. That means that the receiver then will pay the proceeds from what is realizable from the sale. So that is how we have handled them. So we expect that any arrears, any liabilities arising from those 2 countries will be paid off from the liquidation of the assets in those countries. So
Yes.
we don't stand significant risk. And any guarantees that Kenya then did for those countries, we will pay them from Kenya. But
Right.
all outstanding debts in country will be paid from the proceeds.
I also remember seeing a line in the latest results updates to the effect that staff rationalization will also be a part of the recovery plan. Usually that's code for job cuts. How many jobs are we looking at slicing off?
The staff rationalization is already complete. In my first 8 weeks in the organization, I was able to offload all the staff who had been earmarked to be offloaded. In Kenya, we retrenched 1,231. And in the neighboring countries, both Uganda and Tanzania, we offloaded 746. These are very unfortunate cases, but when we go back to those countries, we will give priority to those staff members.
Indeed. Thank you very much for your time this evening, Mr. Kipngetich. We appreciate your time on the show. We've been speaking, of course, to the CEO of Uchumi on, of course, the turnaround plans for that retail chain.